Never miss another strange story. Subscribe and hit the bell. Sit back and get comfortable. I have a few stories to share with you.
"It's not the cheating that bothers me, Jim," said my wife, "and it's the lying. I just want you to be honest with me, all the time, even when it hurts. Can you do that?" "Yes," I said, "I promise." But I was lying. And then she died. And in the years since then, I didn't sleep with a single woman. Ironic, right? Also, after that year, I became sure that Anne was visiting me. I felt her presence. I smelled her perfume. So strongly, it's like it was sprayed directly at my face. My birthday was coming up, and Lucy, our 7-year-old, was making me a special present. It was top secret, apparently. Every day after school, she locked herself in her room and worked on it until dinner time. I had absolutely no idea what she was doing in there. Occasionally, I heard her talking faintly through the door, but mostly it was dead quiet. However, she was extremely serious about keeping it a secret. She reminded me daily not to look. I told her I wouldn't. "Do you promise?" she would ask intensely. Then she'd stare at me with her sharp eyes, her mother's eyes.
"Yes,"
I would say.
I promise.
But after 2 weeks, I felt I had to step in. Something just wasn't right anymore. So when she was at school, I searched every inch of her room for her project, but I found absolutely nothing. It was so strange, but I decided to just monitor the situation. Finally, it was my birthday, and I have to admit, my curiosity was piqued. After breakfast, she made me sit on her bed with my eyes closed. Then I heard her knock 3 times on something, pause, then open it. It sounded like her closet. She repeated this over and over, but also seemed to grow more and more frustrated. I had no idea what the hell she was doing, but she refused to let me open my eyes. Eventually, she threw herself onto the bed. The closet door was open. "It's not working," she cried. Then she looked up at me accusatorily. "You must have looked. Did you look?" I felt guilty.
"No,"
I told her.
I never looked.
"Do you promise?"
"Yes."
Eventually, she told me the truth. "I've been trying to bring mommy back from the dead." Cold chills entered me.
"What? What do you mean?"
"Eleanor told me to." I gaped at her. Eleanor was my wife's middle name.
"Who's Eleanor?"
I asked. She pointed at her laptop. My stomach dropped. I reminded her about not talking to strangers online. She tried to show me some chats, but they were gone. We tried to find Eleanor, but she had vanished too. After that day, the visits from my wife stopped. As time passed, I couldn't help but wonder. Crazy as it might sound, what would have happened if I kept my promise? What would have happened if I hadn't looked? It started around puberty. The defiance, the swearing, locking his bedroom door, playing loud music. I don't know when he started using drugs. He didn't even have money to keep up with that habit, so he started selling them. Then he started stealing. I tried talking to him, but he wouldn't listen. Sometimes he shouted over me or raised his fist. His stepfather, Bill, intervened once and wound up with a black eye. It was ruining our marriage. Bill spent long days outside, driving the fields over and over with harrows, loosening up dirt for planting. We barely talked. We were never intimate. So, when I found Joey's note on the counter last Friday, announcing he'd gone to live with his father, as much as I was upset, I was also relieved. Bill rubbed my back while I sobbed, and it was me, not him, that said, maybe this is for the best. I put Joey out of my mind as best as I could for the weekend, and it worked. I actually found myself smiling for the first time in months. On Monday, I decided to call his father to make sure that he had arrived all right, make sure he was eating, make sure he wasn't in jail already.
The little shit never came here.
His father said. I collapsed on the floor.
What do you mean?
Bill asked, as startled as I was. I called the police, I called the hospitals, I even called the fire department. Their calmness in the face of my despair was maddening. Finally, I tried calling Joey. It rang endlessly. Then it went into voicemail. "I'm not here, so F off," said my son's recorded voice.
Leave him a message.
Bill suggested,
He'll call back soon, I'm sure.
but I needed to talk to him now. I called again and again. On probably the 10th call, I began to hear something. It was faint, but I could swear I heard Joey's phone ringing. Somewhere in the distance, he must have been squatting out in one of the old barns on the property, where we sorted hay and farm equipment.
It's raining, Mary.
Bill called after me. He hadn't heard the ringing. I kept redialing every time it went to voicemail. I followed it backward and forward across the horse paddocks, louder here, quieter there, listening intently to figure out where it was coming from. I expected to be drawn towards one of the barns, but instead I found myself circling back over and over to a specific spot in the middle of an empty field, to some freshly churned soil where Bill had been planning to plant. I dialed again and lowered my ear to the dirt. I could hear the phone ringing, louder than anywhere else. Bill, I saw, had caught up to me. "Bill?" I began, my voice shaky. "Did you?" He swallowed hard, not meeting my gaze. Silence, and then Bill looked at me and said,
He was tearing us apart.
Nobody in that small town ever respected Harry. But all that changed with a simple ingredient. No one ever liked Harry when he was a little fat kid on the playground, or when he was an even fatter kid in high school. They certainly did not when he dropped out to go to culinary school. No one would ever believe you if you told them that they would worship him one day. No one knows where Harry went for a few years, but when he returned, he opened up a diner right in the center of town. Within a year, it was the only thing people talked about. Everyone ate there. Ask anyone, and they would tell you why. Harry's Diner has the best damn food. Simple as that. It really was. People loved it. Ate it by the pound. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Harry's, Harry's, and Harry's. It became an obsession. Some people even started setting up camp outside, just so they could be the first in line for breakfast. Harry's got so popular that he put the supermarket out of business. The other restaurants closed soon as well. No one was too bothered by that. Everyone who worked at those places just started eating at Harry's. That was only the beginning. People loved that food so much, they would do anything for Harry. One woman traded her firstborn child for a week of free meals. Harry made another man kill his best friend just because he could. It wasn't long before Harry had a whole army that would do anything just for the taste of what he would cook up next. Nowadays, there's not much left of that town, other than Harry's, of course. All of the homes are worn and faded. The grass grows unchecked, and trash sits out at the curb. People wander the streets in haze, waiting for their next meal. The town even gave Harry access to their tornado siren. Its wailing song signals the next feast. At night, the whole ruin of the town basks in the neon light from the diner sign. Harry's name proudly looking down over its subjects, a whole kingdom to call his own. He deserved it. After all, he really did have the best damn food. Simple as that. But it wasn't because of salt, pepper, or paprika. Not because of the cheese or the butter, either. Not even because of the factory frozen meat he used. It was the heroin he laced it with. I've been having blackouts for almost a year now, but no one seems to notice. The first time was at my 16th birthday party my family threw for my cousin, Adam. His dad got him a DVD of a horror movie he loved, and we decided to watch it since only Adam had seen it before. I was really looking forward to watching that movie, but then I fell asleep just when it was getting started. When I woke up, the end credits were rolling. Everyone was talking about their favorite parts of the movie. Dennis was more into it than any of us, Adam said about me. And at the same time, I assumed it was a joke. For a while, I thought I was just falling asleep at strange times. Then, in geography class, I blacked out like I always did. When I woke up, however, I looked down to see a page full of notes on the lesson, all in my handwriting. It was like I wasn't actually gone, just running on autopilot. I tried to keep track of when I blacked out to see if I could figure out what could be causing it. But then, I'd fall asleep and wake up to find my records missing or destroyed. I'd take notes on my arm, fall asleep, then find them scrubbed away. Someone or something was trying to stop me from understanding it. I could feel myself losing grip on reality, and I didn't think anyone would believe me. Eventually, I figured it out. The pattern was both simple and cruel. Anything that felt refreshing was being taken away from me. Anything that relaxed and recharged me was being stolen. I would get the physical benefits of downtime, but not the experience. My stomach would be full after a blackout, but I did not get to enjoy the meal. It made my life absolutely miserable. Yesterday, I finally broke down and told Adam everything while I was at his house. We were hanging out while our parents were at the movies, and then he asked me if something was wrong. I just lost it. I told him that I was having a breakdown, and he offered to help. Adam called our parents, but none of them answered. We knew what theater our parents were at, so we decided to take the bus there, tell our parents what was going on. We took our seats on the bus, and Adam put a hand on my shoulder. "We'll figure it out, Dennis. Don't worry." I was so relieved, I could barely hold back my tears. I finally reached out for help, and someone was actually there for me. Then, I closed my eyes, just for a moment, and he was gone. I was on a bus, but it wasn't the same one. I was the only passenger. I looked down at my arm and saw something written on it in my own handwriting. "They will never find him. Do not make me do that again." Many of the applicants came into our program with a romanticized idea of police work. Many envisioned an elegant battle of wits against wine-swelling criminal masterminds. Many others were former high school bullies who were mostly interested in busting in some heads. They didn't take my work as a coroner too seriously. For them, a corpse was a clue to be sliced open and tossed aside. But Bethany was different. She saw the cadavers as the people they had been, worthy of respect. She would whisper to them while she worked, telling them the latest news they missed out on, or how grateful she was to learn from them. Some of the students found it a bit off-putting, but to me, it was endearing. And she always knew what she was doing, which tools to use, how to extract the organs properly, how to sew the lips shut, and so on. It came as no surprise then to learn that she had been a mortician's daughter. She worked with her dad in some quaint rural village, prettying up the bodies for funerals. He had been something of a public servant as well, being the only mortician for miles around, she told me. He would often offer his services for free to people who had died without family, and would stage a public viewing regardless of whether anyone came to visit the deceased. He sounded like a kind-hearted man, and I longed to meet him. I wondered if he shared his daughter's sense of gallows humor, an important tool for people who thrive in circumstances that would otherwise engender despair. Today, we were discussing the process of decomposition and the weird things a body may do post-mortem. We'd already discussed coffin births and angel lust. Look them up if you dare. So I decided to end on a lighter note. Corpse might blow it up with gas, and that gas needs to escape somehow, I said, pausing for a dramatic effect. Corpse fart, in other words. The students laughed, dispelling some of the tension in the room. Bethany raised her hand. The gases sometimes escape in other ways too, out past the vocal cords, so sometimes it sounds like they're moaning. It was true that corpse sometimes moaned, and it was always unexpected and terrifying. But then Bethany continued. Sometimes, she said, they even sound like they're screaming. The other students cast each other sideward glances. Screaming? Impossible. The vocal cords tighten when a person screams, which requires an electrical impulse from the brain, and corpse are brain dead. Bethany, please. These kids are not the brightest, and they don't know you're joking. Everyone laughed. Who's joking? she asked, deadpan. I smiled, trying to think of a quick and smart comeback. But then she added, without a hint of humor, "It happened all the time when I worked in my dad's basement." Everybody has moments like this. I'm sure you've had many yourself. A chance encounter, a fleeting glimpse, a split second where you think, maybe I should, perhaps I gotta. And many times when you've thought, I wish I had just, when it's been too late, the moment is gone. And then you mentally beat yourself for hesitating. Curse at yourself for being the type of person who takes too long to think. So long that when a decision has been made, it becomes null and void because the reason behind the decision no longer matters. I used to be like that. And then I decided to never again be indecisive. No longer shall I be the person to walk by someone in need and have an argument with myself in my head, all the while hoping someone else would take the matters out of my hands. Good Samaritans. There's nearly always one around when the need is great. I try to be the Good Samaritan now. Like right now, standing beside this young man, standing on the bridge, tears in his eyes. Every now and then, he mumbles to himself, says he's no good, tells himself that things would be better if he wasn't around. I talk to him, try to say the right things, comfort him. I try to make sure not one word I say will convince him to take the next step. I feel like he doesn't hear me, but I remind myself that he has a lot on his mind. Too much. I'll keep trying though. Maybe just one sentence will break his trance. Just a few words. Just one word. The word that might make everything feel alright again. Feel like hope again. It's a shame it's late at night. A shame there's no one else to help him. Help me. I've been standing with him for nearly an hour now, and I'll carry on standing here, trying to say the right things, but I know he cannot see me. I'm a ghost, a phantom, just a tingling of lingering energy, buzzing right here at the spot I took one step too many 4 years ago, just like this young man. It's a shame. I wish I could really help him. Slowly, as he grips the railing, he lifts his leg and pulls it back over and onto the safety of the path. He looks down into the abyss, then turns towards me. Surely you can't see me, but he whispers, "Thank you," then turns and walks away. We live in the same day over and over. Literally, October 23rd, 2018. The day starts at 6 a.m. PST. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. The day goes for 16 hours, and then you fall asleep. When you wake up, everything is reset. Everything except your memory. Everyone gets to keep that. For the first few weeks, if you can even count these as weeks, everyone was confused. Nobody could figure out what was going on. Most people didn't think it was real. Then came the various theories. God was punishing us, of course. Then people moved on to other things. Everything from aliens to global warming to changes in the migratory patterns of monarch butterflies was blamed. Scientists from all over the world worked hard trying to figure it out. But I guess it's difficult to continue your work when everything keeps getting reset every 16 hours, including things written on paper or saved on disks. There are only so many complicated mathematical situations one can memorize, I guess. Some people started to live a hedonistic life, knowing that there's no tomorrow and therefore no consequences. Some people went the other way and killed themselves, only to be stored to life at 6 a.m. PST. They had no memory of the time they spent dead. Eventually, even the scientists stopped trying, or trying to keep track of the number of todays. People adapted and tried to make some sort of a life with the idea of no tomorrow, and the virtual immortality that came with it. This worked out well for some people, especially the rich, and not so well for others. It was the worst with people like me, who were dying before the loop began. I was diagnosed with stage 5 cancer and given 2 weeks to live. The pain is unbearable at times, and the analgesic don't help that much. Most of the patients in my wing, and I'm sure millions of others with similar conditions, live in constant agony, with no hope of a cure or death to take away the pain. But I try to look at it in a more positive way. Some kind of life is better than none, I think. Lights out, says Nurse Nooks. It must be 9:55 p.m. She's one of the few people who still comes to work every day to take care of people like me. Truly an angel. Some kind of life is better than none, I think again, as I wind the strange golden clock the mysterious woman gave me yesterday and set the hands to 6 a.m.